So much for tuning in. It's an absolute pleasure to be back after Easter. And this time, our topic of conversation is my passion into purpose. Today's guest, our first on the series, is a good friend of mine, Richard Parks. Richard is a world record holding athlete and entrepreneur based here in Cardiff. He's had the most eclectic and interesting journey, and I'm thrilled to start talking to him today. Hi, Rich. How are you?
Hey Deb, I'm great, thanks. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really well. It's really nice to see you. It's been 18 months since I've seen you in the flesh, but it's good to catch up in Zoom. And thank you for being our first guest.
Oh, it's really cool. I'm really excited to be part of it. I'm a bit nervous about what you're going to ask me, but yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, there are three interesting questions, or I think they're interesting anyway, because it's the one thing that's really stood out to me in lockdown is that I've heard and I've had conversations with people time and time again about how this period of history has slowed us down and made us question what really counts. And I, for one, was on that treadmill of life, just going through the motion, and I got to ask myself that question. Am I living the life I want to live to the best that I can, given my circumstances? But more importantly, am I doing the job that I feel I was born to do? I.e., am I living my purpose? And I can say I am. It's taken a long time to get here, but I love what I do. And what I do never feels like work. So I could answer that question. And I thought I want to hear from other people about whether that's happening for them, because many people have come to me, or we've had the conversation in the last 18 months, which is, I'm not. And then if I ask them, well, why not? A whole plethora of different reasons comes up. So it's something that I feel is a really good topic to get involved with people who I know are really living the life they were meant to live. But of course, we don't get there overnight. So I guess my first question to you, Rich, is, what were you doing before you're doing what you're doing now? What was life like?
Small question to kick off with, Deb.
Yeah, little one.
Like so many of us, in looking back through my life, there's been pretty distinctive chapters, and not many people know this, but my first chapter of my life, or the first chapter of my adult life, was as a dental student studying in Cardiff. I took a sabbatical when I broke into the Welsh squad, aged 20, 21. And the kind of biggest chapter of my adult life was as a professional rugby player. It was a difficult decision to leave university. But once I did, I never looked back. I was privileged enough to play in Wales, England, France, won trophies with Pontypridd and Leeds, and represented Wales and the Barbarians. But my world changed overnight when injury ended my rugby career, and I tore the cartilage out of my right shoulder, rendering it ultimately arthritic, and went into hospital expecting routine recovery and back playing in a couple of weeks. And when I came around from the anesthetic, the surgeon told me that I'd never play again. And I fell off the edge of a cliff emotionally. It was the darkest period of my life, with the darkest thoughts. And that really was a catalyst to this chapter of my life, and ultimately the catalyst to me being able to live my purpose. And that was learning how to climb. That was not just using the skills that I had outside of the sporting arena, but learning new skills in industry and in business. And fast forward a decade to be here now talking to you.
Tell me, so when obviously that started in 2010. Sorry, was that Joe in the background? I was getting distracted. Hi, Joe.
Yeah, this is the world that we've
I love
in,
this because my dog's
here.
just run in. This is what the brilliant thing is. Like, no one can hide on Zoom, can we?
No,
Our children will run in any minute and just be like,
that's
right.
very true. Yeah.
So, that obviously a pivotal moment, like you said, it does change overnight. It does. And sometimes that epiphany comes, and other times you've walked a path for 5 years and then you're like, it's here. So yours was actually really just in a moment, that decision to end one chapter, begin another. 10 years now, 11 years into the world that you are, of this incredible extreme environments, athleticism, entrepreneurship, and beyond all of that. How would you summarize what your passion is?
People, growth, and nature.
Nice.
Yeah, if I had, I've got lots of passions. I think we all have, but the very top of the pyramid, and everything that I do really relates back to either serving or helping people.
Yeah.
Growth, whether it's me trying to be the best version of myself or helping others become the best version of themselves, and really using nature as a conduit to that. It was nature that got me out of that dark hole after injury and in my rugby career, and inspiring and helping, enabling others to have that relationship with nature is the third kind of component of that passion.
Amazing. I mean, there is nothing like, when I've hit dark times, I have to be in nature. That's where I heal. That's where I go out, whether I walk or swim or climb a mountain or ski or whatever I can. That is where I'm like, I feel topped up. I'm back. I'm better. And I think if you just can incorporate that, but in your world, you have seen peaks of the world that most of us on planet Earth will never know or see. Do you have a memory, Rich, that you could share with us about how nature has maybe instilled your sense of purpose, or instilled what you're here doing, what you're doing now?
Oh, wow. So I work hard, right? We all work hard, but I feel incredibly grateful for some of the opportunities that I have had, and some of the places that I've been, from, to the remote wilderness of Alaska, to the summit of Everest, to most recently, the last 4 or 5 years, I've been working in projects in and around Antarctica. And, nature in its purest, most primal sense has a way of making me feel insignificant and powerless, and yet at the same time I can feel entirely powerful and be in awe of the splendor. And I know that seems very grand, it's but there is nature in its true sense in Antarctica. I can think of a day where a lot of the margins are very small in some of my expeditions. No, they're all very small in the expeditions. Most have had a time or a distance or a speed objective. So I've not always had the luxury to sit bad weather out. And I can think of examples where I've started skiing in the vast wilderness of the kind of Antarctic plateau in Antarctica, and it's complete whiteout. So I can't see what's beneath my skis, what's in front of me. It is like being inside of a ping pong ball, literally. And temperatures can be, minus 30, minus 40, and the only point of reference I've got is hearing my body, hearing my breath, hearing my muscles, the feeling of my skis on the snow, and it's hard, and it's a real grind, and it's the challenge is battling that internal voice every second, telling you to stop, telling you to quit, telling you to give up, asking you why you're here, all that kind of stuff that we all go through every day. But because my route is, well, the route of this particular expedition I'm thinking of was 1,200 kilometers in pretty much, it's all uphill, but it's flat, it's level. I can see tens of kilometers in front of me, and suddenly I see an horizon, and all that really means is just darker snow at the bottom, lighter snow at the top, so I can see a line. All of a sudden, I've got a reference point, a point of reference, and then all of a sudden, my mood picks. I feel just a little bit more energy. My thoughts aren't quite so negative. Next thing you know, the line becomes sharper. There actually becomes a very, very thin white line or a very thin blue line. And what I'm seeing is in the horizon, as far as I can see clear sky. I'm skiing through this weather system, through the cloud, through the humidity in the air, which causes the whiteout conditions. And that line eventually becomes like a semicircle, and that semicircle starts as a dot, and eventually it's a round dot, a round semicircle, and I'm skiing. And then over a period of 10, 12 hours, I'm actually skiing in bluebird conditions, not a cloud in the sky, and that euphoria, and it is a genuine euphoria, and that connection with nature is something that is impossible to articulate, and that's just one experience that kind of came to mind. But wherever we go, whether it's Southern Down just down the road, or even Penarth, under Penarth Pier with my son, we all have these moments in nature where they might be a split second, they might be a bit longer, but they're out there, these connections with the universe and connections with the planet. And that is an incredibly powerful thing to be aware of and experience.
I'm literally speechless. I'm just imagining what that would be. 10 to 12 hours. I mean, that is exhilarating. And by the way, you articulated that really well. So thank you, because I went through inside a ping pong ball to thinking I would have gone, give up. I was thinking, when do you pitch the tent? When do you just get all snugsy bugsy and think, oh, I'm done for the day? And 10 to 12 hours later, you're still going. I mean, that's a dedication of like extremism, where you just, like you said, it's life. You've got to go through those times, but that is it in a way different canvas. Wow. And sunsets and sunrises, I bet, incredible.
Yeah.
Permanent sun.
Yeah, on my I think on one of my social media accounts, I've defined myself, or describe myself as a sunrise chaser, chasing sunrises,
Nice.
because that is
Lovely.
As a younger man, those who knew me as a teenager would not connect the two. I've never been a morning person, but I never was a morning person. Whereas now, absolutely, getting up early, catching the sunrise, even here in Cardiff Bay,
amazing.
It's a wonderful way to start the day. Just to feel yourself full of that energy.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
I'm a bit more sunset, but I'm working to sunrise. My last question to you, Rich, this has been really inspiring, by the way. I'm kind of a bit like, oh my God. If I had a listener out there, myself included, if you had a piece of advice to give anyone about the times when you get stuck and you don't know how to get to the place you want to get to by living your passion, living your purpose, or just changing jobs or changing direction, they don't have to be massive, but is there something that someone's either passed on to you or that you inherently have that you could pass on to someone else?
Wow. I'm always really nervous giving advice there, because until you walk in somebody's shoes, it's impossible to have that context.
Yes.
And we all have our demons. We all have our challenges. Never be afraid to fail. pretty generic, I imagine, but actually no, scrap that. Never be afraid to embrace the things that we perceive as weaknesses, because quite often there are superhero strengths.
Yeah, nice.
And just a little bit of context on that, as a younger man, living a life as a professional rugby player, professional athlete, and times were very different then, 20 years ago, when I started my rugby career. I had always perceived my lack of confidence as this terrible weakness, a character flaw that I would never share with anyone. And I lived this roller coaster of anxiety week to week, training sessions to training sessions. Am I going to get picked? Are we going to win? Am I going to get in this contract? And these are not exclusive to sports people, not exclusive to me. We all live these roller coaster of emotions. And it was only when I was stuck in my parents' spare bedroom after the second operation to repair my shoulder, following the injury that ended my career, that of all the emotions flowing through me at that point, the biggest one, or the one that was the most compelling, was fear. Just being scared of the unknown, scared of what I was going to do. How was I going to put a roof over my head? How was I going to pay the bills? Who was I if I wasn't Richard Parkes, the rugby player? And for whatever reason, well, there's lots of reasons, but I won't go into this, or lots of things that I believe are reasons. I decided in that moment to not be scared. And for me, it was choosing to climb mountains, or wanting to learn how to climb mountains. It seemed the scariest thing I could think of. And that was my way of gaining some sort of control back in my life. Channeling my energies into something positive, and just moving forward, just doing something. That evolved into the 737 Challenge, which was a world first project, which, worked with thousands of kids across Wales, raised, just under 400 grand in aid of Marie Curie cancer care. And 10 years on now, after that first project, I look back and I think, I am inherently insecure. I suffer with mild anxiety. I suffer with mild OCD. I could talk the head off a stamp. um, I have a relatively high pain threshold, which means I can endure. Apart from the last couple, being anxious, lacking self-confidence, sometimes talking too much, all these things were I perceived as weaknesses, as character flaws. Yet I look now at the point I'm in my life now, one of the skills I have is bringing people together, using my talkativeness, or along with other things, to connect people, to bring partners together in creating these projects. I embrace my anxiety and OCD, and that's what underpins my safety and success. I'm meticulous in my attention to detail, meticulous in my training, my preparation, which has enabled and facilitated much of, or many of, the world records that I've got. And even that has built relationships with partners, because they know even in these hostile environments, I'm a very I have a high appetite for risk, but a low tolerance for risk. And so all these things I'm trying to get to, you can see I'm talking a lot now. It's really only by embracing the things that I perceived as flaws that I guess have enabled me to channel them into a career, into a lifestyle, into where I am now. And they absolutely underpin my every success. And and I guess if I hadn't have had that injury, if I hadn't had that point of adversity, I'm not sure I would have had the courage to make that change. But knowing what I know now, I would absolutely try to.
Amazing. Wow. I love that. No, it's the transparency. I mean, that's growth. What you've just said there, that's purpose, isn't it? That is growth right there. Rich, you're an incredible teacher, friend, and inspiration. I've loved hearing from you. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed being our first guest.
Cheers, Deb. It's been lovely to see you. Lovely to talk with you. And I really look forward to grabbing that coffee properly in the park sometime soon.